Before we do that, let me show you a video. I made a comment on my personal account, and it was on this Satanist post on Instagram. I wanted to get your feedback on this. I thought it was pretty interesting. He essentially is saying that he is an atheist Satanist, which is quite a juxtaposition in my opinion. But nonetheless, this is actually a movement that he referenced. So he is an atheist Satanist, as odd as that seems. And he has his entire room littered in satanic imagery. He's wearing satanic clothing. Baphomet is everywhere. He's saying that he's an atheist, and he is saying that he gets his Satan from a esoteric text that essentially is from the point of view of Lucifer when he fell. And it is saying that, God is this great dictator that was all powerful and all controlling, and Lucifer was this rebellious commander that fell because he wanted to go against God in rebellion. And it's basically from the point of view of Lucifer and kind of making him as the protagonist within the story. Let me go to that video real quick.
No matter where I go, these chuckle fucks exist. I'm an atheistic Satanist. Satan doesn't exist. Only you believe in Satan. You are the one who's being deceived by your dictator of a God who tells you everything to do. I don't believe in Satan. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the supernatural. I'm a member of TST. I do not speak for TST. Satan is a character in an 18th century novel called Revolt of the Angels, who revolted against God, who was a dictator that controlled every little last bit of his and every other angel's life. He fell to earth, decided not to fight because of compassion, empathy, and the well-being of humanity. Wisdom is important. Gain some, dumb fuck.
Yeah, he seems like a really nice guy. Yeah, imagine bringing him over for dinner, right?
Yeah, I feel really bad for these type of people, though. Like, I can't help but to feel empathetic. And I, of course, left a lot of comments letting him know the other side of this. But spiritual corruption is really real. It really sucks to see, especially when you're someone that claims not to be spiritual, yet your entire, ideology is wrapped around a spiritual atmosphere. It makes no sense, yet it's so odd that you see people that try to make sense of it and you just see them suffering.
Right. That right, and funny enough, that kind of goes into this book that I showed you. I won't say the exact book, but it's basically about justifying God in the Old Testament, and in a way that, if you're ever in a discussion with an atheist or a Luciferian, right, who's like, oh, God was this tyrant who's lied to you and da-da-da. It's a pretty good read from what I haven't finished it, but it's a pretty good read so far. And that guy, that's basically a large percent of lost people that are either willingly, being deceived and some sort of Stockholm syndrome kind of event, or just plain ignorant that are basically being taken advantage of by demonic forces and principalities.
I mean, the thing is that I see a common pattern with people like this. I mean, it's people typically that they're overwhelmingly interested in earthly value over that higher spiritual value. And one thing that Lucifer loves to do, or Satan loves to do, is tempt people with earthly pleasures and ecstasy and things that keep them held and grounded literally to the earth. One, like Satan, especially nowadays in a new age culture, you see how he is tempted people with just all sorts of earthly pleasures. You see, he kind of reveals himself as this very cool and loving entity that wants you to express yourself in any sort of way. And we see that nowadays in the way that Western culture is kind of warping for the worse. And by that, I mean it's warping away from our traditional conservative culture into a more of a open, creative case.
Just do what feels good, man.
Exactly. It's all about
Just have fun. It's 2021. Just do what you want.
it's all about stimulation. It's stimulation culture. You see that with technology. You see the negative influence that it's having on our people, our culture. People are becoming slaves, and it's really sad. But that's the ideology that he supports. It's ideology that supports your earthly value, your stimulations over that higher discipline. And that higher discipline is what looks at a person like that and just immediately strikes pity.
Yeah, do what thou wilt, right? That's the classic Satan.
Classic Satanist, classic Aleister Crowley archetype.
Yeah, that guy needs to eat more meat too. That guy looked like he was about to freaking fall apart. I bet he's vegan. But yeah, man, that's and also just, you know, my friend Zach and also with me a little bit too, and anybody really who's is doubling down on spreading the gospel in any means possible. Obviously, we're using the internet and social media to try to get a hold of people and spread the word, but you're gonna come across opposition. You know what I mean? And that goes into prayer, praying for a barrier, praying for a division. You know what I mean? A protection from God. You know, because Satan or the evil one and his forces, principalities, they'll squash you like a bug. You know what I mean? And God will let that happen if that's what you want. You know what I'm saying? So do not try to take these forces on. Just do your own thing. Preach the gospel. Ask for, pray for protection. Pray for strength. Because you're going to be enduring opposition, right? There's going to be people out there that are going to be trying to fight you, you know what I mean, over this. And really you got to look at it like I look at that with Zach. That's just more power to his testimony. You know what I mean? That he can show that, look, out of all the people, it wasn't a Buddhist, it wasn't a Taoist, it wasn't a Shintoist or whatever. It was a Luciferian Satanist guy that for some reason was probably possessed by some spirit to make that video, and that's just the beginning. So praise God that we won't be here for much longer. That's my little personal on that. But
Yeah, I agree.